Now this rant video has been a long time coming anyways, so there you go, 5 things I hate about being a poker pro. Thing number 1, I hate working night hours. Night hours messes up your sleep, messes up your social life, and is just unhealthy for your body. However, it is common knowledge that the games at night are better than they are during the day. People have day jobs, they work at the day, or they do like other activities, and people tend to gamble more at night when they start to party, when they start to drink. Hence, the games are better. This kind of forces you naturally to switch towards the evening schedule, which I don't like because of the reasons mentioned before. Now, if you play online, the games usually run 24/7 and you can play in the morning or in the day. The games still run, you have the option to play. However, the win rates are not as good, but when it comes to live poker, sometimes the games don't even run at the day. For example, in Casino Barcelona, the tables only open at 2 p.m. So literally before 2 p.m., I cannot even work. Now, in some places, the games run 24/7. For example, when I was in Texas, the card houses ran the games 24/7, and even the games are not really good in the morning, they still run and you have the option to play. It kind of depends on your location, but a universal rule is that the later at night it is, the better your win rate will be. So if you don't want to sacrifice your sleep, you will sacrifice your win rate. And this is just the truth of the matter. This is the nature of poker. At the end of the day, we live out of the bad players that come to play. Hence, we have to adapt to the schedule of the bad players. Now, thing number 2 that I hate is the company at the table. Usually while playing poker, especially in low stakes, you're surrounded by not the brightest people on the planet, let's say. There is a saying that you are the 5 people you interact the most with in your life. So you kind of have to be careful with the environment you put yourself in. This thing is like neglected a lot of the time, but I think it's pretty important, the people that you are passing your time around with. Although I think it's a bigger problem of low stakes. I was talking to my friends that play mid to high stakes. On the higher stakes, usually the people that can afford to gamble for fun in there are some kind of businessmen or some financially successful people that got there. You can have an interesting conversation with them. However, the low stakes field is usually plagued with players that either sometimes have a gambling addiction or just want some spare time to pass away from their families or something. You're kind of forced to be around those people. Now, don't get me wrong, like this fun and gambling environment sometimes can be entertaining to be around with. But when you start to pass a lot of time at work, you start to think twice about the people that you would want around yourself while working. It's not always as bad, you know, like sometimes people are okay and you can have a nice conversation, but sometimes when you just meet some people that you don't really like interacting with, but you know, you kind of need them for the poker economy. The thing number 3 I hate is boredom or inefficiency that is spent at the table. In a full ring poker game, you're supposed to play only about 15% of the hands, which means like 85% of the time that you get dealt a hand, you just muck it back for the dealer. Especially in live poker, when you're dealt only 30 hands per hour, this could feel like eternity. It feels sometimes that you're just like getting to fold, and fold every day, which is, you know, it's part of the strategy. It's just the nature of like Texas Hold'em. You just cannot play a lot of hands, you know, because you're gonna be unprofitable. However, this nature of the game, even though it makes you a higher win rate because you're playing the correct strategy, but when you're playing live and you just keep folding all the time and just like having nothing to do, of course you observe other players to like get some reads and, you know, see some showdowns. But it makes you think twice about the inefficiency. Like you're spending so much time playing poker and only like 15% of the time you're actually playing hands that matter. And even those hands that you play, sometimes they end up really fast. You could be opening from the button, the big blind calls. The flop is like king, 7, deuce, rainbow. You see bet small, the big blind folds, next hand. And this is just feels sometimes like poker is going really slow and there's kind of 1 or 2 or 3 big hands that determine the whole results of your night. So I was thinking one day, like, you spend so much time just like sitting there and like folding hands. You know, people listen to podcasts, people read books, you know, in the casino sometimes because there's just so much time being killed. And I just thought, hey, maybe the money like is good, but is it actually worth it, the time that you're wasting? Maybe you could do something more with your time. Maybe you could somehow utilize the 85% of the time that you spend not playing. Now in online is different. In online, if you play especially Zoom tables, you can just fast fold the hand that you don't want to play, and you get to play all the meaningful hands. So I guess this boredom factor, although still true in online poker, you have to be patient, not rush the spots, you know. It is very true in live poker. When hands get dealt really slow, and even from those hands that are dealt to you, 85% of them, you just have to muck it back to the dealer. It's sometimes just so frustrating. The thing number 4 I hate is sitting in the chair all the time. Now, the chairs in the casino, at first glance, they seem pretty comfortable, but when you start to spend more time in them, you realize they're not as comfortable as you think they are. Although they're pretty soft and have a lot of cushion, they're not ergonomically correct. When you spend so much time sitting at a casino, you develop bad posture, and you kind of have to be always aware of how you're sitting, trying to keep your back straight. And it seems like a minor thing, but I saw some regs that were playing there for like 10 to 20 years, and they all have posture problems. And although now this thing maybe doesn't seem as a big con, I think in the long run, it really comes out as a negative impact for your health. And finally, the thing number 5 I hate is the monetary swings. I put this number 5 because I'd say it's the least annoying part of poker. Of course, downswings can be challenging, but we're playing poker after all. We kind of know what we sign up to. So that's why I thought that the previous mentioned points were ranked way higher than downswings. But still, when you're having prolonged periods of bad variance, it can feel like you're just losing your mind. You don't know if you're playing good at all. Everything you do just seems wrong. And especially in live poker, the downswings can last for a surprisingly long amount of time. I know some people that had 3 months of break-even period, and these are good high-stakes regs that are really long in the game and they know their theory right. And even they experience these prolonged periods of downswings. And it can be really challenging mentally because the game just runs so slow. It feels like forever when you're in a downswing. In live poker, people tend to track their income not month to month, but year to year. And even every year, the income varies drastically. I know a cash game reg that some years makes a 30k a year and some years makes 100k a year. And from 30k to 100k is like a big difference, and it's, swinging every year. So imagine one year you make 100k and then the next year you're only making 30k. You kind of feel that, everything you do is kind of wrong. Where's the, 70k missing from my win rate? But you have to realize that it is just standard variance, although it can be really deceiving sometimes. Me personally, I've been in quite a swing recently. Maybe that's the motivation to create this rant video that I have been thinking for a long time. Don't get me wrong, poker provides a lot of cool stuff that I'm gonna make another video about, but there is a thing that, sometimes when you're just having a bad period in poker, not really winning that much money, kind of a break-even-ish period, and you're just sitting there, you start to really question, what are you doing here? You get these all kind of existential questions, and I'm pretty sure every reg that plays a long time of live poker has gone through that. But when I was sitting there and spending so much time break-evening, I was really questioning this thing to the core. Is it really worth it? Are you really using your time as best as you can? Are you leveraging all the time you're not playing poker? You're educating yourself while you're playing? Could you do something else? Could you do something that scales better? It feels a little bit of a time waste sometimes. It's like a professional time waste, not a professional poker career. I guess I don't have much to complain about. Eventually things run good and you're guaranteed to win in the long run, so things turn out fine in the end. But these periods can be really challenging and deceiving, and they're kind of mentally tough to go through. But when you go through them and you get along and eventually go out of the downswing, you feel way tougher than you were before. But yeah. These times are not very exciting, let's say. These were the top 5 things I hated about being a poker professional, and I thought about sharing them with you. Maybe you play live poker for a living and you can relate to that. Maybe you have another profession that you are doing and you also have things that you hate about it and you want to share them. So I just shared from my perspective how I experience things. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to press like for the algorithm, and I'll catch you up next time. Ciao.